Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our review of episode 2 of Mice and Murder, A Scandal in Britannia.
A Scandal in Britannia.
A Scandal in Britannia. I'm Henrik.
I'm Leland.
And let's go.
Now, obviously, we have to start with the title.
Yes.
A Scandal in Britannia. A very lazy callback to A Scandal in Bohemia, the Sherlock Holmes story.
I mean, it works. If it works, it works. I don't know.
And also, I think the closest thing they have to an analog for, what's her name? Irene Adler.
Mm-hmm.
Significantly less competent. Daisy had some trouble this session.
She did have some trouble this session.
With her dice.
And I don't know if you watched the Adventuring Party. It's like the talkback show. But it sounds like she just has that problem with the dice rolling throughout the season. So
Reika, just in general?
Just in general, evidently, is rolling poorly this season. Most unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
Speaking of Daisy Dumpster and Irene Adler, we begin the episode in a flashback on the train where Sylvester Cross and Daisy Dumpster met. And, although we were talking about how we didn't like the fact that last episode ended on this flashback, and I don't know how I feel about it opening with the flashback. I thought it was a very effective flashback, especially towards the end. It definitely won me over. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah.
I think it's a great example of how to make failure funny in D&D, especially.
Right.
Reika,
and how to tell a story.
She made 3 bad rolls, and then Brendan was like, something must be throwing Daisy off her game. And to an extent that makes sense, because you got a world-class thief, suddenly she just fucks up a bunch.
Right. I think she's in the presence of a hottie.
Oh my god. Sylvester,
oh my god.
He's just so hot. I just can't contain myself.
He's a silver fox. Yeah, I thought the scene was like the train sequence was very it was very Sherlock Holmesian. Is very it really because last episode we got we learned who Sylvester Cross is, and we learned who Daisy Dumpster is. But this flashback really showed them off and their abilities as characters that last week's session did not. And really, I mean, obviously Daisy rolled shit, but really kind of showcased the just intellectual ability that they both have. And then obviously just then going through their lives going forward, and then when they break up, Reika and Grant both did a very good job with this crazy curveball in episode 2. These emotional scenes will often happen in the last episodes of these shows, but in episode 2, these guys barely know their characters, they know their characters, but not as well as they will, and they still nailed it. I felt so that was just impressive.
Yeah, this is what you get when you get improv artists into a D&D session.
Yep.
Oh. I'm not jealous, I promise.
And then you come back to the party, and then this was the episode of just quips and just shutting people down with words.
Oh, absolutely.
And I loved every second of it.
Yeah, and again, it's a cast well suited to it. My favorite scene still has to be, I still can't remember her name. She's the spiritualist nut.
Lucretia Brockhollow.
Lucretia Brockhollow. Absolutely insane. So funny. Just, I believe in everything. Ghosts are real. But also God is real. Everything is real. An excellent parody of dumb psychic shit.
Right, and you can tell that this episode, most of the NPC stuff that Brennan played was William Thornwell Brockhollow, right? This big serious guy, and like there was not a lot of like comedy there. So like it just seemed like every chance Brennan got, he would just like flex his comedy muscles with Lucretia, and just kind of like loosen himself up a bit after William. And it is just like it's this great kind of just dichotomy between the two. Like it would fit back between William Thornwell Brockhollow just like getting pissed at everyone and everyone getting pissed at him, and then Lucretia just being Lucretia.
Squire Brockhollow.
Squire Brock.
I kind of hate that moment. That's the moment I'll say I kind of hate.
Why?
It's just so dumb.
How so?
Like, oh, you're supposed to say your lordship. Okay, whatever.
Well, I think that's the point. Like it's not. Yeah, it's like that's how the fucking Brits work. That was a great scene between Buxter and Thornwell Brockhollow. And I feel like we didn't like talk enough about Buxter last week, but Sam Reich is one of the like just most consistent. Like just he's very integral to the plot, and then he's also just like this great character and just love him. And obviously he's not a good person, but it's just I don't know. He's nailing it with this one.
He certainly has an excellent Texas accent.
Oh yeah. If I had to go for an MVP of this week, it'd be Sam Reich. But yeah, like there's just a lot of fun to like watch like every character besides like Daisy and Lars get this like tense moment with William, and Lars, Daisy, and Gangy did not really get any moment with Thornwell Brockhollow, which makes sense. But Sylvester, Ian's, and especially Sam's interaction with William was great. Also, I loved the moment where Sam and Grant both roll really high on their insight checks or something for each other, and so it's just this like brilliant moment
they got
at the end where Brent is like, you can say whatever you want, and no one in the room will understand what you're saying besides you two.
That was also one of my favorite moments.
Oh yeah,
it reminds me. There's a moment in Austin Powers like that. It's not exactly the same, but Austin Powers and his father have a discussion by speaking in extremely heavy Cockney slang. And literally no one can fucking understand them. It's amazing.
Yeah. That was just like a moment where just like that is a brilliant move of DMing on Brennan's part. To come up with that on the spot.
To say whatever you want. Y'all are like magical underworld people.
Yeah.
You're fine. I feel like Lars didn't get very many moments this episode.
Lars didn't really. I mean, Lars got the weird trash interaction with Daisy, which was funny. I mean, I feel like Allie is more doing this like as a supporting play. Like I think like Allie tends to become very front and center with most of the campaigns. And I think Allie's kind of becoming more of like a
They're
side
explicitly
character.
Trying to hang back this time. I can definitely see that.
And like letting like they're there kind of like to be the D&D player that knows what they're doing to help other people out, but like they're not necessarily like trying to take like they're letting other people take the spotlight.
Yeah, that makes some sense. I mean, like, if you go back to Fantasy High,
right?
They take so much center stage that there's a substantial amount of time spent handling Kristen's solo spiritual adventures.
Oh yeah,
which is a great move.
Yeah,
it's some of my favorite content from that show. But
yeah, Fantasy High, Kristen, like
I can definitely see Allie wanting to hang back.
Yeah, because I think it was because this was like set up as the all college humor cast, and I could see like, oh, we do want like one player who knows what they're doing. And if you think about it, like I think it's like Allie is actually like the only like main Dimension 20 player that's like also part of the cast. So like that was probably the thought process behind it. But yeah, because Fantasy High, Kristen is a big player. Pete is literally like one of the like magical forces in New York City. Is very important. Even Liam, and his character in their character in Crown of Candy is kind of sidelined at first, but like becomes very important. So yeah, I could totally see Lars just kind of being like the Watson character that like is there to help out.
Yeah, I guess it's true. Everyone else is like only been in side quests, I think.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean Rick is the only other
Drake.
one that's done D&D, or done Dimension 20.
Also important to note, how many rogues are in this cast, and we started to see that a little bit.
Yes,
We talked about
yeah,
the
4 rogues.
high-minded, we can say anything moment. Part of that is just because this party has
Right.
4 rogues in
And
it.
then a bard, and then a fighter.
Quite something.
It's a very interesting setup. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. I will say, Sam is making me want to play a mastermind rogue.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Okay, this is also a thing that I think Dimension 20 illustrates fairly well. Is that maybe it's just me, but I've played a lot of D&D that's just so functional, like
Yes.
so much just hack and slash dungeon crawling, and it's really not fun that way. I mean, we played some at Gen Con that was like that, and I think the only one that was really totally enjoyable was Let's Kill Xanathar, because
Yes.
they pumped up the difficulty such that like there was a lot of tactical investment in the actual combat, and
Right.
that's what made that's what makes that kind of play fun, or at least I think so. But
Right.
shows like Dimension 20 really illustrate that with some experienced DMing, you can really push it into the other direction, where you can spend forever role playing, and then those class features that are like sort of built to be more flavorful than anything else actually start to come into play a lot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because like I think about it, before watching Dimension 20, I only played like warlocks and sorcerers who get their subclasses at level 1, and so I didn't like really put much thought into those subclasses because like it's just kind of like, oh, this is like the coolest one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I hadn't played my character yet. But like looking at this, like, oh, you can like obviously like your class influences your character, but then like the subclass then supplements like your personality. It's very fun to watch, and then like just like because like none of my suite mates know D&D, and we're playing a campaign, and just like showing them Dimension 20 just like educates you as to how to play.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, like, a Fiend Warlock is going to be so different from an Old One Warlock. And
Exactly.
honestly, that might be something that the player's handbook itself is not very good at. It's not very good at sort of illustrating how powerful flavor can be in D&D. Because if you really look at it closely, if you strip away everything from it, it's incredibly low-stakes gambling. Where essentially, if you fail enough times, the punishment is you have to stop playing.
Right.
All of the stakes come from the story, the artifice built around it.
Right. Going back to Mice and Murder, I mentioned last week that I hadn't like. I mentioned last week that I not kind of really grasped onto Gengi as a character, and although Gengi didn't get much more time, I felt like Katie fleshed out Gengi so much more in just like his like 2 interactions, I think, with Molesley and really just Molesley and the people, the butler. What is it? I've got all the names up in front of me. Mr. Harding and Thomas Guilfoyle outside, and really kind of showcase this like self-consciousness from Gengi, and this like and just like also just the interaction with Mrs. Molesley is so great, and I loved it so much. And yeah, so like at this point, like I mean, I get Lars, and like obviously Lars like kind of seems to be like more of a supporting player character at this point. But I feel like this cast is like it's all clicking for me now. And this seems to be like the best in my at least for my part. This is my favorite cast, like new cast since Escape from the Bloodkeep.
I mean, I think Grant as Lars is just fantastic.
Oh yeah,
It's hilarious. Reika is hilarious as Daisy.
Oh yeah.
They're probably my two favorites in the cast.
My favorite would be Buckster or Ian.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
That tracks for you. Can you remind me that moment between Gangy and
Yeah, so Gangy is like kind of out waiting for dinner or they're dancing or something like that, and he hears like the two of the butlers, I think, talking outside about like, oh, how bad this new hire or something is, and Gangy figures out it's them, it's him, and Mrs. Molesley comes out and is like very sweet, and then Gangy gives Mrs. Molesley like a flower. And it's just a very sweet interaction. Oh, Gangy goes back inside to steal silverware because Gangy's pissed and is going to go back home. And then Mrs. Molesley comes, like, helps Gangy out, and then Gangy gives her a flower. And it's a very sweet and lovely scene. And it's making me happy just thinking about it.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A flower. Yeah, I guess overall, I thought that episode was great. And, like, last episode was good, and I feel like this one is even better and, like, pretty much fired on all cylinders. If I had like level 1 complaint in it, it'd be, I feel like all the fucking mice servants just kind of like blur together in my head right now because they're all just mice and they all just seem to be timid mice.
Yeah, I'm having you can tell I'm having trouble remembering some of the interactions.
Yeah, it's like Milo Snout, Edwina Thimble, John Sprout, Tessa Teapot, and all these like just little mice.
And like, they're cute and appropriate names, but it's a lot of characters at once.
Yeah. It feels like besides Matilda Molesley, I don't have like a sense as to the serving class. Like I know the butlers, but I don't really like know what their deal is quite, and I don't like know any of the mice.
Yeah. I think because this is a murder mystery, as it goes on, we're gonna see like it's gonna be more because we're going to be confined sort of to this space, I presume. So, although we've sort of got a character overload right now, we're going to come to hopefully understand a lot of them a lot better as the show goes on.
And also, like, the important ones will become clear, and, the other ones will be, like, they'll exist. We won't, like, you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's one of the characters, but you don't necessarily have to know who that is coming up, because that was like the same thing I had with Crown of Candy, and that like when they reach the capital, like a lot of names are thrown out, but yeah, it becomes easier as it goes on.
Shall we talk briefly about the end and then
let's talk about the end? Yeah. I like the whole time I was like going back and forth between Brock Hollow's going to die or not, right? Because obviously like he seemed like the perfect person to die, obviously, like in his place. But it's also like he was just like had such like, I don't know, it's just like had such personality, and like conflict with all the characters that is like maybe he's not going to die.
They were kind of doing a Knives Out thing with him.
Yeah.
Knives Out. It's a movie that came out.
Yes.
Like a year and a half ago now. Murder mystery. Yeah, murder mystery in a big mansion.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it's like someone in the family killed the patriarch, and we got to find out who.
Yeah.
And they do this whole thing where they set up like basically every one of his children has some kind of conflict with him. That we see before he dies. And we got a kind of similar thing going up here.
Yeah, but like it's what I'm thinking because like it's like I think they've talked about like how on the adventure party how like every single player character like got an email like asking like, oh, would you be comfortable if one of the cast was a murderer, and would you be comfortable with being the murderer, something like that, right? And like all of them said like, oh yeah, there can be a murderer amongst us, so like one of them might be a murderer, but like I feel like I don't yet know like how that plays out, because like obviously like Brendan was setting up everyone to have conflict with Brock, how would maybe want to kill him, but I feel like I'm not convinced yet that any of the cast could be a murderer yet, just because you've been following them this long, and obviously they all have secrets, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see going forward if the characters start to become suspicious. Because right now I'm like, oh yeah, they all have conflict with him, but none of them seem to be the yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it's definitely not Mrs. Mosley. I mean, unless they explicitly want to subvert that trope.
If it is Mrs. Mosley, I will riot.
If it's someone in the party, it's gangy, and it's not gangy.
Yeah.
That's sort of my position on it.
I feel like if it was someone,
I would say if it was gonna be somebody in the party, it would most likely be gangy. But it's not.
I disagree. I think if it would be someone in the party, knowing Brennan, I think it would be Buxter.
It could also be Buxter.
He's not going to put the working class character as the murderer. And Daisy's out because she has this romance set up with Grant, and Brennan likes happy endings. Lars and Ian, maybe they could both be it. But for my money, I'm guessing if it's a player character, which I don't think it is. And if it is a player character,
imagine if it were Lars. Like at the end, they just come out like, yeah, I did the stabbing.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. But
anyway,
after this episode was very good. This definitely had this is the murder mystery. Whereas last episode, I felt like I was waiting for the murder to happen and it never happened. This episode gave me the murder, and it was a great episode too. And yeah, just this was an 8, 9 out of 10 for me. Yeah. Yeah,
this is definitely an 8. The first one, I think I said it was a 7. It's probably more of a 6.5 for me.
Just keeps getting lower.
This is definitely an 8.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna make one last prediction. I think it's Jeremy.
Ooh, that's possible. Let's see that.
I know it might be a little bit cliche to have the son do it, but
right.
I could definitely see Jeremy.
Also, we didn't even talk about this. What's his face? The evil bunny showed up. Fletcher Cottonbottom popped up.
It's not him.
It's not. I don't think it's him. But just that was a thing that happened. And he's definitely involved in some way. That was exciting. And also, this was one of the few moments in Dimension 20 history where player characters align so good that it ends the episode right there. With Grant's Lady Lucretia, I've seen a ghost. And
oh my god. Oh my god.
This is I think there's one other time. There's one other time that a player character has done something so awesome that they've ended the episode and not Brennan. And people watching, if you know it, you know it. Leland doesn't know it, but I know it, and it's a great moment.
And it's not even just the line; it's also that Grant just delivers it with perfect.
He does.
Perfect TV show ending intonation. Oh my god!
Chef's kiss.
It is for that reason that I blew out my microphone in reaction.
All right, and catch us next week when we make a new one of these.
Lady Lucretia.
I've seen a ghost. That's how we're ending every episode from now on.